Cunning Little Vixen is an opera about animals and an opera about humans.
It doesn't rely on a really dramatic story. It's quite radical, I think, in that way.
I have 42 years of my opera experience on professional stage, but I never met such a difficult music in my life.
I think the animal world for Janáček was close to the human world. I don't think... My understanding is he didn't necessarily intend people to be dressed up and try and literally emulate animals, but to somehow find a sort of the essence of those different animals that he was interested in, or for him, the animals that represented certain aspects of human behaviour, or certain types of people, I suppose.
I struggled a little bit trying to grasp that, how abstract the choreography should be to reflect Dragonfly, but obviously there are two men being these dragonflies, how abstract we need to be when we're looking at the mother vixen losing her baby. I just approached that as a mother losing her child. And also I felt very strongly that the design was so strong and so clear that the audience had so much visual information that they would get the essence of these animals. So really, I just approached it in a very subtle way. So it was more about giving a flavour and a quality and trying to find the human character or the animal character within the human.
She's a fabulous character and it's one of my favourite roles to perform. She's really down to earth. She's really assertive and strong-minded and strong-willed, but there's also a real vulnerability to her as well.
Melly and I worked on this for about 18 months, actually, and we talked about, you know, what the animals what they would need to describe their characteristics. And one of the things that came up was the tools and the foxtails.
So we're not only singing and acting, but we're also puppeteers. So taking out all the sort of, not energy, but the animal instincts sort of out of the body and putting it all into the tail. So when I'm angry, I sort of flick my tail in anger, and when, you know, the fox and I are falling in love, you'll see us sort of stroking our tails together amorously.
Melly was very keen from word go to make a real contrast between the world of the humans and the world of the animals. So we've decided that the humans are kind of stuck. They are related to time in a way that the animals aren't. So we've kept them very strictly in 1924. We've also done a colour palette for them. So there's absolutely no colour in the human world. It's all monochrome. Everything from clothing to their skin tones to anything they touch, anything about their environment.
I think Melly was sure that she didn't want the humans to be, the forest and everything, to be out of their time. So they were in Moravia when Janáček wrote it. So they needed to feel like country people. They needed to be very rooted in their world, because then you make sense of the life they live, the isolated life, the you know, failure of things.
You know, the emptiness in his heart is enormous. Emptiness, and really, absolutely, he start thinking how I've been before and what is around me.
I think the crucial thing is that we as human beings live in time and animals live outside time in a way, because they have no knowledge of time, so they're not aware of it. And it's that sort of awareness of time that burdens us as human beings, because we're so aware of the clock ticking and our inexorable approach to death. And in contrast, the animals break all the rules. You know, they traverse all the decades and centuries depending on what they need to describe who they are and what they are and how they survive. So they're full of colour and full of rule breaking. And rather than us trying to give them ears or gurry teeth or anything like that, we've tried to sort of find what are the human equivalents to what the animal needs to survive. You know, for example, the fox, instead of having her vicious, sharp teeth, she has a hunting knife.
I think it's one of the best opera sets I've ever worked in for the sound. Apart from it being ravishingly beautiful and extremely helpful for the storytelling.
After dress rehearsal, many people came to me and said, "How are you climbing there? How are you dealing with that?" I said, "That's not me. No, it's not possible." Because absolutely identical twins on stage.
It's incredibly steep, and if anyone walks down it, they have to obviously be harnessed, you know, so because you are literally abseiling. The dancers, who are doubling as the characters, have to use all their, the strongest of their abdominal muscles just to stay on a horizontal plane.
There was a great moment in rehearsals where we'd everyone be working kind of carefully on the set and quite cautiously. I think it was Adam who is one of the dragonflies, just ran up to the top of one of the hills at full speed and like just threw himself down the hill, and kind of everybody just kind of stopped and went, oh. And then it kind of felt like it just took that one person to take a little bit of a risk with it and to play with its possibilities in that way.
The dancers have really gone beyond our expectations with what they can actually do on that. We had no idea they'd be able to run all the way up it, and then we put handholds in there so they could just hang up. It's almost in mid-flight. And then burrows have crash mats and slides down them, so we get this sense of the animals really using the space like a playground and having fun with it.
And our path, you know, I had this sort of thought that actually it would be quite interesting to see what happens below ground. And I remember my children having a gerbil and therefore a gerbilarium, and this is what we now call it, the gerbilarium on stage. So you sort of see like the cross-section of their world, their tunnels. It just throws up our expectations a little bit, and in a playful way, really, that's part of it. And there's a sense of the path always descending but sometimes ascending. Going into somewhere dark and mysterious, and sometimes going up into somewhere more light and unknown as well. So it's sort of, somehow, it's the idea of paths that take us to unknown places.
The combination of opera, dance and drama theatre in this piece requires also for such an exceptionally precise, detailed work on the production, and also on the musical side of the production, that there aren't that many opera houses in the world where you get all the time needed to work it all out.